Okay. Okay, we had an argument between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chanina when the get was delivered, Medina Sayyom, in the presence of how many people does it have to be given? Rabbi Yochanan says presence of 2 people, and Rabbi Chanina says in the presence of 3. The Gemara explained, everybody agrees that the shliach could be considered one of the 3, in theory. Why? It has to be given the presence of the Bezdin, because everybody agrees that the kiyum aspect applies. Everybody agrees that even between l'kaimu. We said even Rabbah concurs with Rabbah. That's one of the reasons why I say fanechtam. So when you certify a document, it has to be done before a Bezdin. So you have to have 3. The question is, could the shliach, could he be counted as one of the 3? Rabbi Yochanan says yes. Rabbi Kalatsky says no. Why? What is the concern? Everybody agrees when you certify a document that each of the 3 judges panel have to be a qualified witness. We don't rely on a woman, we don't rely on a relative. The only reason why, as the shliach delivering it, we rely on the shliach's testimony is mishum agura akil b'rabbanan. That's the reason. But in terms of before who you give it, there's no reason, there's no leniencies there. So if that's the case, before what kind of panel do you have to give the get? A bona fide bezdin. That means it has to be a male, and it has to be a qualified person. What happens if people may confuse and they say, well, we know in the past it was given the presence of 2, and the shliach was the 3rd. What happens if the shliach is a woman? What happens if the shliach is a korov, is related? So in that situation, the shliach cannot be counted as one of the 3. Rabbi Yochanan says, we're not concerned. That confusion will not come about. Therefore, 2 is enough. Because under normal circumstances, the person will know how to make this differentiation. And if it's a woman, they will have 3. So Rabbi Yochanan is speaking 2 when the shliach qualifies to be a member of the panel, of the bezdin. But Rabbi Yochanan agrees, if not, then you would need 3. No different from Chanina. Rabbi Chanina says, no, we will never allow 2, because we're always concerned, it's gzeira, we're concerned regarding this confusion. That's how the Gemara concluded. According to Reb Chanina, you can never count. That's the Gzeira, because of the Gzeira. Okay? So now the question is, who do we rule like? Do we rule like Reb Yochanan? Do we rule like Reb Chanina? Do we allow 2 when it's possible? Or do we say, no, because it is concerned, we always have to have 3? So the Gemara quotes a Braisa. Tanya Kavasa Reb Yochanan. We have a Braisa which supports Reb Yochanan's position. Hamevi get midiyas hayam v'nosnalo. Person brings to give him the Yisayam, so you're supposed to say, V'lo amalo. He did not say. So if the shliach doesn't attest to the lishmo or to the substantiating document, it's not a forgery, it's a problem. So the halacha is Yotzi v'avlad mamzer divrei Meir. Meir says the man has to separate himself, and the child's considered a mamzer. We'll see in a moment why. Meir is, this is all rabbinical. It's a rabbinic mamzer. It's not a Torah, of course, he's not a mamzer. Okay? Rabbi says you have to divorce or separate the man who marries her, and if she conceives the child, the vlad's a mamzer. Chacham omrim ein avlad mamzer. Regardless, the child on the Torah level that gets a valid get, the child's definitely not a mamzer. Kate said yaseh. Now, according to the Chacham, the child's not a mamzer. Is there a way after she received the get? Could you correct it? She already received the get. Could you make a correction to allow them to remain together? If you don't say fanech, we don't allow them to remain together, because the get hasn't been certified.
No matter what, everybody agrees to that.
Everybody agrees to that.
So they're not married.
But
anymore.
No, they're married on the Torah level. Rabbinically, we don't allow them to be together. The get's a get. It's a bona fide get on a Torah level. What do you need kiyum? What do you have to substantiate it? Because the husband may come.
She's still married to the second husband. Right?
She's still married to the second
Yeah,
one.
so they're still married.
Right.
Everybody,
no, Reb Meir says
no.
No.
Chum said that they're still
We
married.
nullify the marriage. Annulled. Kol Mekadosh Daik to Rabbanim the marriage is not a marriage. According to the Chum, it's possible you could still correct the marriage. How do you do it? Kate said, Yaseh, what are you? Yitleno? Himeno? You take the get back from her. The husband takes the get. The man who delivered the get, who should have said Fonech, takes it back from her. V'yazu v'denlo b'fnei shnayim. Gives it back to her in the presence, so does the Brisa, in the presence of how many? 2. So this confirms Rabbi Yochanan's position, that 2 is sufficient, 1 doesn't need 3. V'yomar b'fonech fonei nechtam. And he says, fonei nechtam. Okay, stop for a moment. Now, the Mishnah in Yevomas, Eid Echod is believed to say, Beis Balo. A single witness says, so-and-so's husband, I attended his funeral in wherever it may be. He's believed. Eid Echod, although it's the Eid of Sheber Poch Mishnayim, you have to have minimally 2 witnesses. What about if a woman comes to testify also? However, they had said that because we're so lenient initially, if the husband should actually return, not only is she not permitted to be with the second husband, we don't even allow her to be we don't allow her to go back to the first husband. We consider her an adulteress. That we give her the most stringent status, therefore she loses both. The second husband is no question, she's still a married woman. But factually, she willingly committed adultery, but because she did not sufficiently verify the fact that the husband did die, therefore we penalize her. Right? That's the halacha. So now over here, the Chachomim say a get is only a get if the shliach is funny nechtam. According to Rameir, if he did not say it, the vlad's a mamzer. So if we're already classifying the child as a mamzer, that means the act of cohabitation was an illegal act. It's the equivalent of adultery. If it's mamzer, that means we're equating it to adultery. If a child should be conceived, what is the severity of that engagement? It's adultery. Once a woman commits adultery, how do you treat her afterwards? She cannot be with that man any longer. So therefore, even if you're going to take the get back and give it again, it's not going to help. It's too late. According to the Chachomim, that the child's not a mamzer. It has to be given correctly. So therefore, you take it back and you could correct it. Say nechtam. But according to Rameir, we said the moment if she should conceive, the child's a mamzer. So what are we saying? That act of cohabitation, that engagement with the woman, is an act of adultery. Once a woman commits adultery, that man can no longer marry that woman. So therefore, it's not correctable any longer. No, it's only an indication. But if there would be conceptual of mom, so what does that say? Doesn't make a difference. It's still an adulterous act. That indicates that it's an adulterous act. Okay? So Casey, so Mar asks now, Rameir says, because he did not say Fonech, the child's a mamzer. So Mar asks, Rameir Mishum Lo'oma Fonech, Vlad mamzer. I mean, factually, it's a valid get on Torah level. Why should the child be a mamzer? Mar says, yes. Rameir Letame, Rameir is consistent with his position. Look inside the Gemara. The Omar Rav Amnuna Mishmei Du'ulo. Rav Amnuna said the name of Ula. Omaho Rameir Kol HaMeshanim Ma'beir Shetovu Chachomim. That one deviates from the text which the Chacham set in place, Begitten, Yotzi Vavlav Mamzer. You have to conform exactly as they prescribe it. And if you don't, the get is not a valid get, and the child's a mamzer rabbinically. Okay?
So how would he hold that one witness is good? If we're doing this for the benefit of the woman, why would Rameir be so?
But you have to do it the way we prescribe it.
Right. So then, one witness is only because we want to make sure that the woman gets a get.
Wait 1 second. Okay. The Gemara said on Daf Gimel that why do we rely on the testimony of one witness? Mishum aguna akilu b'rabbanan. Okay, wait. The Gemara says haikula chumru. That's a leniency. It's creating a problem. What's the problem? The husband will counter it. If you have 2 people delivering the get, he can't counter 2, but 1 he could counter. So what does the Gemara say? That the shliach is medaktek when he says fonech nechtam. He's meticulous to make sure the information is accurate. Therefore, if the husband should come, we totally dismiss the husband Because there's an Anat Sadi who would say with certainty that what he says is correct. Right? That's the reason why the husband can't in any way affect the status of the shliach, although he's one. That's what the Gemara says. Remember, you recall the Gemara?
Yeah.
Okay, good. What happens to shliach doesn't fanech fanei says nothing. Just delivers the get. Could the husband come now and contest the get? We'll say it's a forgery. It wasn't written lishmo. You have a problem. So that means the get has no value. We're willing to rely on your testimony of this testimony. But here's no testimony. So therefore what? We consider the get as if it has no value. So it's like the equivalent of a woman marrying, having relations with another man before she receives a get. If that's the case, it's an adulterous act. That's where Rameir is coming from. We give it that degree of stringency.
Because that's what makes it powerful. That's what makes it 1/8 powerful.
By testifying.
Right.
But he didn't say a word here, he just delivered it. That's the reason. Okay? Now Tosa has an interesting shiloh. We have a question, Toch de diba kadiba dami. We have the Gemara says in the Dorim that if a person is told that his sister died, and he tears Kriya, and Toch de dibor, he's told it wasn't his sister, it was his father. What's the halacha? When a person tears Kriya, it has to be for the person, that particular person. Let's say we tore Kriya for his sister, and let's say there was a lapse of time, and he realizes they made a mistake, and it was his father, not his sister. He has to tear Kriya again. Because the original act of Kriya was for the sister, not for the father, whoever, it could be vice versa. What about if he's informed that it was a mistake, Toch de Dibur, of the original Kriya? Then the halacha is the Kriya is a valid Kriya even regarding the other individual. Because he was informed, Toch de Dibur, that it was the other person, not the first person. Because the correction was made Toch de Dibur. Okay? What happens? First, he puts the get in her hand, and Toch de Dibur, he says, before nechtam. He was supposed to say it as he gave it. This get for nechtam, representing the husband, here's the get. He didn't do that. He put it in her hand, and Toch de Dibur, of putting it in her hand, he says, nechtam. Is that valid even according to the mayor? So Tosas says it will be valid. Because Toch de Dibur kadibu dami. Okay? Let's see Tosas inside. It says, Yitlene men according to the Chomi. He takes the get back, the Yazav Yitnenolo, and he gives it to her, the Yomar. So when they say Fonech Nechtam, according to the words of the Brisa, it says, he returns it to her, Yitnenolo, the Yomar. So when does he say Fonech Nechtam? After she's already holding in her hand. Correct? Bikan mashma, the tzorch noma b'shas nesino b'fonech nechtam mit komar, yitlena himeno. Within, he says he takes it back. So he definitely, when he's holding, if he says it as he's giving it, there's no question. Within la'ach nesino, tochadi dibur. It's not only as he's giving it, but even now that she has it in her hand, if he doesn't let that time lapse to occur, he says fonech nechtam is the equivalent of saying it as he gives it to her. The Mahani, the Komra Leil, he says, and he brings a phenomenal proof. We had a case before. A person gives a woman a get. He was pikeach, he was fully functional, then he became a deaf mute. So what does it say over there? It's okay. So Mara said because it's milslo shchicha, right? Because it's something which is uncommon. It's a remote such thing to happen. It's a sheo pikeach. V'lo hispik loma fonech nechtam achin escharish. He was fully functional, and before he had a chance for nechtav, he became a deaf mute. So what is the connotation of that? That he would have, if he would have been a pekech, would have said it afterwards, immediately afterwards. Aval la'achik de dibor. What about alachik de dibor? Misaf klori imahani kol zman she'asukim bo se'inyon olav. Yeah, we had this Gemara in Kedushin. Remember we spoke about Asukim Bo Se'inyon. Person speaking marriage and this and that, he doesn't have a Mukadesh, then he gives a gift. So we say, even though he didn't say Harek Mukadeshesly, it's the equivalent of saying it, because since we're speaking about marriage, because of the subject matter that's being discussed, the act is associated with the intent. So he says over, let's say they're talking about, right, he gives her the get, and they're speaking about what you have to say, how you have to say, and he let it lapse. But because there are sugmos inyon olo, Okay, V'kodem Nesino, the Ri, Nami. Iman, he has a question. What about if he says, Fona Nechtam before Tochdi Dibur? He waits, he says, this get that I'm about to give you was written and signed before me, and then he lets 20 seconds lapse, then he gives it a get. Right? Is that considered a valid giving? Or does it have to be directly associated with the giving? If it has to be directly associated with the giving, then it has to be Fona, then it has to be Tochdi Dibur. But as long as I'm able to link the previous statement with the act that's about to take place, that's sufficient. I mean, logically, what difference does it make? Why should it be? I mean, factually. He said this get, he attested the fact this get is what was written properly and was signed properly. So all the concerns have no relevance. Then he waits 20 seconds and gives it a get. So what's the question? Right? What's the question? So what are you going to say? I mean, what is it? But he says misafkli. He's mesupik. He questions whether that's good or not. Why should it be a question? Ernie, you learned this tosis already.
No.
You good? Howard.
We said if you write a get on a tree and then you have to cut it off the tree and give it, it's not valid. So this is the half-sec.
No. So what if a person writes a get, it takes 20 days to deliver it?
Well, that's a shaliach, but you have to. They can't be. That's
No,
part of the
no,
process.
the sofer didn't give it to the husband. He's going to pick it up next week.
I mean, is it like the ring on at the wedding? You turn away from the ring for a second, it's not there.
No, that's edus. It has to do with edus.
There can't be a separation.
Is it talk they do or not? Because the Super Bowl's an India.
Not a supervising. I'm talking about, he says he's mesupik. If you say before the giving, and there was a lapse of more than toch de dibur.
You can even ask why, even after he gave it. Why after he gave it and then he said it, why would that be an issue?
No, we said toch de dibur. It's not an issue.
That?
She's
No, not
free.
even until he waits 20, 30 seconds.
Okay.
Why would that be a problem?
Good. Good.
Only establishes that this get is a kosher, proper get. It's written lishma in front of it. So that's a big question. Why do we have to? Why do
You're asking the question. You're giving an answer.
no, I'm asking a question.
Okay. So I think the pshat's this is the way to understand it. Who is believed to say Pfanei Nechtam? The shliach. Who's the shliach? The shliach is the husband. If you're functioning as a shliach, then you believe to say Pfanei Nechtam. Then your testimony is the equivalent of witnesses. So if you give the get, when you're in the act of giving the get, who are you? You're the husband. Chazal said, as the husband, you believe to say Pfanei Nechtam. It was written and signed before me. What about before he gives it a get? He says, the get that I have. No, it's only in the act of giving. It's when you're acting as the husband. Acting the husband is when you give it. He's not giving it. If it's Tochdei Dibur before, you're not giving it. Therefore, you don't believe. Your testimony has no value. Right? You have to be functioning as when is he functioning as the husband? When he's divorcing her. So if it's more than Tochdei Dibur before he gives it to her, what do you want like this? It's of a portrait. Right? It's understood.
Can we say the husband doesn't have to say that?
That's for a different reason. That's for a different reason. Why the husband? This is somebody who's the equivalent of the husband.
Oh, sure.
Because we say if he's giving, he's not going to contest it. That's why we say the husband doesn't have to say it, right? But a third party has to say it. But what has to be his status when he says it? He says it as the shliach. When is he acting as a shliach? When he gives the get. So it's Tochdei Dibur of the giving. So he's still acting as the shliach. But it's prior, so that's the suffix of the re. Since it's not in the context of acting as the husband at this moment, do we value that statement? Do we still give validity to that testimony? Or do we say, no, it's only when you're literally acting as the husband? So that he leaves unresolved.
But why is acting like the husband only when you just time it exactly correctly when you're giving it? Why isn't a little before or after also giving? Like, why isn't that considered giving?
Because you're not the husband.
What?
They're only the husband to divorce her.
I'm saying, but
You're not divorcing her. It's she's already divorced. You're not the husband any longer. Tochdei Dibur, he's still considered the husband. Because that time period still considered connected to the previous moment. But if that period lapses, you're no longer the husband. You were the husband.
So it's valid.
It's still the guy's there.
She's divorced.
It's valid. valid.
He gave her the get.
Okay.
You're not the husband anymore. I made you a shlich to deliver the get. You're not the husband anymore.
He didn't declare, he didn't say it.
It doesn't make a difference. But they said that declaration only has value if you're the husband. As you act, you're acting as the husband. Once the time passes, you're not acting as the husband anymore.
Before he gave it to her, he's still the shliach.
No, he's only the shliach to divorce her. When are you the husband?
When you're
In the act of divorce.
Right.
So you're not divorcing her yet. So if it's Tochadei Dibur before, it's prior to Tochadei Dibur, it's not connected to the act.
So basically, you only be the act as the husband until that's what
Tochadei Dibur links
Period.
it.
That's it.
That's the suffix of the re. It's a suffix. He says maybe. Maybe yes, maybe no. When do they give value to his testimony? Only when you're acting as the husband. So therefore it's too early. You're not acting as the husband anymore, right? So maybe it doesn't. You have no value. That's the re.
Why does he say before he said Asuka Bosanyan? So
No, of course, Asuka Bosin.
that should be the same thing then. And over there, what's the difference? He's Asuka Bosanyan, so what's the difference if it's Tochadei Dibur or not?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand what his suffix is here.
No, Asuka Bosin is the equivalent of Tochadei. No, Asuka Bosin is the equivalent of Tochadei Dibur. That's the equivalent of Tochadei Dibur. Asuka Bosin
Asuka Bosanyan
is the equivalent of Tochadei Dibur. Then it's don't Kodem Nesina. Right? Kodem Nesina, Mesavka Luri Imahani.
So no, it's Kodem Nesina is not Asuka Bosanyan then.
Right. Nothing.
Nothing.
Right.
He's nothing. Something.
And he said, "B'fonei nechtam," and then he waits 5 minutes and gives it a get. Although he tested to the fact,
In front of
but
witnesses.
not in front of Bezdin.
Everybody, yeah.
But who are you? You're a single witness. Single witness is not believed.
And he
It's Davar
says it-
Shebe'erva.
He says it 5 minutes later, he gives it to the woman.
Doesn't make a difference, but because that's a suffix. Because factually, and when you said it, you weren't yet the shliach. You're only the shliach to divorce. We want to, what did Chazal say? The suffix is, what did Chazal say? When did they give him that special value? When he's actually divorcing, or as the person who will divorce? So if it's the person who will deliver the divorce, then he has the same value. But it's only when you are the husband, that's only when you're actually doing the act of divorce. That's when you're giving the get. That's a suffix.
That's why you have to say it right when you give it.
Right, or Tochadei Dibur, which is the equivalent of that. Okay, let's go further. Interesting Gemara coming up. Barhedya boy lasui gito. This person Barhedya, he was chosen to deliver a get. So what happens? So the shliach has to attest that it was written lishma, correct? Now, how much of the get does he have to see written lishma? Does he have to be there seeing the sofer? Every word he wrote in that get was written with the specific intent on behalf of this couple. How much of the get does he have to see? Barhedya boy lasui gito. Osl coming to Ravachi, comes before Ravachi to be instructed as a shliach that he has to attest to the fact it was written lishma. How much of the get does he have to see? Davin Mamuna Gitti came before Ravachi, who was the one who oversaw. He was called the Masada Gitten. That was his responsibility. Omaleis, he told him, Lamod al Os Vos. Here, every letter of the get, you have to be present, and you have to hear that it was written lishma. Every letter, from the first letter to the last letter, because fashion does have to be written lishma. Also, coming to Rabami Ravasi. So this Barhedya comes before Rabami Ravasi, who were the leading Torah sages in Eretz Yisrael. Amri Lei, they told Lo Tzrichus, it's not necessary. You did not have to be present when every letter in that get is written. 1 second. So he said to them, is there anything wrong with being machmir? You tell me you don't have to be. We'll see. Even if you're there present only the first line. The sofer writes the first line, and then the shlich walks out. You could be assured, as he wrote the first line, Lishma, he continued Lishma. That's Ravami Ravasi, as we'll see in a moment. So he says, but what about, I want to be machmir, I want to be there on every letter to make sure it was written Lishma. He says, Nimsa Tamotzi Laz al Gittin Rishonim. Because if you're going to institute that stringency, what are people going to say at other Gittin that didn't have that level of stringency? He said, no, some of the other Gittin are not valid because it wasn't properly written Lishma. Nobody could attest to the fact it was written Lishma. You can only attest if you're there, but it's not correct. Because there's a presumption if the first line was written Lishma, the Sofer had written it correctly. Every word, every letter was written Lishma. So you can't be Machmir, because ultimately it'll cause all the previous Gitten to actually to be contested.
So if he's standing there, every word, how does he know? Does the Sofer have to tell him constantly, I'm thinking about it,
Continuous.
So we have no faith in the
Ah.
Sofer that we're about to. No faith that the Sofer knew what he was doing.
No, again.
That's why we have a rule.
Lishma, maybe we're talking about Sofrim have to write Lishma. And there's a question, Sofrim and Chutz Loretz aren't as proficient as Sofrim and Eretz Yisrael.
That's what I'm saying. Vayechi says that he doesn't have any faith in the Sofer at Chutz.
I don't need Rabbi tell me that the Mishnah tells us.
Yeah, but I thought we learned that.
No, the question is, what happens if you see this Sofer doesn't know what he's doing? Because he wrote the first line Lishma.
Right.
So is the presumption he's going to continue writing Lishma? Or do we say it's just the first line? That's what we're discussing over here. So Rav says, no, you have to, when you come and you testify, you have to know that every letter was written Lishma. Rav says it's not correct, it's incorrect. Because there's a presumption. If you wrote the first line Lishma, you wrote the whole get Lishma.
I mean, what is the key in Lishma? What does that actually mean?
Proficient.
No,
Being aware of the halacha that has to be written Lishma. Being aware of the halacha.
So if he wrote the first line and he was aware of the halacha.
That's what Rav Rashi is saying. There's a presumption.
Why anybody would think different?
1 second. You take a look in Tosas, bottom Tosas, it's a two-liner. Filo kosav bo elo shita achas, pir shelo shita rishona. The bis lishma. We could say with certainty, as the first line was written lishma, because we are on Avov. What happens if the Sofer, he writes the first line, then he goes out, he goes into the market, and he comes back. So maybe you would say he met someone else. He was commissioned to write another get, and the information in the first get is identical to the new get that he was commissioned to write. So if that's the case, man, we have a problem. Now when he continues to write, he's writing for the second couple, not for the first couple. Then it's a brisa. The brisa, you don't have to be concerned. Regardless of how long the break was, we're not concerned he met somebody else, and he was commissioned by the other person. And if he wrote the first line, he continues writing it with the same intent for that original couple. Correct. It doesn't make a difference. He just started to do it right. He started to do it right, he's going to continue doing it right. I understand. But told me he started to write the line that had to be written Lishma. Okay? Rabbi Brachono. There's a Gemara later, it says, when you write a get, Sefer Torah has what we call tagim. It has crowns on the letters. But when you write a get, you're not permitted to put tagim on the letters of the get. The person wants to beautify the get. The woman's going to frame it afterwards. Right? The halacha is you're not permitted to put tagim on the letters. Why? Shlo lohotzi laz on the gittin that don't have tagim. People say, you see, a proper get has to have these crowns. So if it doesn't have the crowns, evidently the get is deficient. So maybe the get is not valid. So what do you do? You motzi laz on all the other gittin. Therefore we don't even allow it. Even though it's more perfect, the writing is a more perfect writing. But since many don't, and it's going to create people to question the validity of the others, then we don't even allow it. Same thing, he says, by you demanding this extra chumrah, what is it causing? It's causing everybody else, it's just it's a little bit of a... It is, they do write Ksavashuras, Gidda written in Ksavashuras. I'm not sure. If you don't, I'm not sure if it's Makif. I'm not sure. But there's a question, you have a restaurant. Mashkich Tmidi. So that means any restaurant does not Mashkich Tmidi. What? It's not kosher. It's not so simple. Not simple. Of course, there's a halacha, there's a halacha in Shulchan Aruch, there's a Pesach Tshuva speaks about this. Let's say the children of a previous generation, they want to institute Pas Yisrael in their community. The previous generation, they had Pas Palter, they had commercial bread baked by a non-Jew. The new generation, the children, they want to upgrade. And they want to have what? Greater stringencies. Is it a disrespect to the previous generation? This is like, you're more religious than your parents. La halacha Pas Palter is permitted. Now, by you instituting this so-called upgrade, how does it reflect on the previous generation? Like it's motzi laz? Are you permitted? Is it considered a disrespect? So the Pischei Tshuva cites many tshuvas, responsa that it's permitted. Because parents want their children to advance rather than to regress in Yiddishkeit. Therefore, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Okay, but over here we're talking about Laz. Laz over here, it's a question of illegitimacy. The woman's, people say it's adultery. Go ahead. Yeah, Avrami.
So we went through a Kedushin, we didn't bring this up once that I remember, and we're up to Daf Hey. Like every time the Rabbanan institute something, we've never had this concern before. Of all right, the Oraisa they're married, or the Oraisa they're divorced, or whatever else the Rabbanan instituting. And
you see how well he remembers Kedushin?
Am I wrong? Did it come up in Kedushin?
There wasn't an opportunity for this to be discussed over
I know,
there.
but there have been times where the Rabbanan instituted something, and
A woman with Safim Kudeshes, she wasn't permitted to marry anybody else. It says, Teitzi Mizubit. She would need to get from two people. Safik Kedushin, she would need to get from the first and the second. One would give it and the second one can marry. We had cases like that. Safik Kedushin. Okay. Rabbi Chono, Isaac Gita, Pal Yichtiv Kamei, Pal Yichtiv Kamei. Rabbi Chono delivered a get. Half the get was written in his presence. The other half was not written in his presence. So the question is he able to say Fonech Fonei Nechtam? Of course, the second half, which half was written in his presence? The first. See, if the second yes, the first not, it's not simple, right? Because maybe the first wasn't. But we have a principle that when you start something, the presumption is you continue with that same intent. Even if only one line was written lishma, shuvei no tzorich. Because as Tosa says, the presumption is the first line was written lishma, the sofa continues writing the rest of the get lishma. Shuvei no tzorich. There's a discussion in Zvochim. Howard and David are experts in this. Coaching. Mar says on that Bezim and Bez, there's a question: Stam lishma or stam is not lishma. When you bring a korban, whatever it is, do you have to have specifically in mind it's for this individual, or even if you don't have in mind, it's fully valid, even if you don't have in mind. What about you have a chatos, an ola, an osham? The Kohen, does he have to have in mind I'm bringing an osham, or if he has no idea? He has in mind whatever it is, let it be. Is that sufficient? So the Gemara concludes, Stam lishma. Even if the Kohen does not have anything in mind, it's 100% valid. So the Gemara cites Mishnayos to discuss this. It says that if a person starts a Korban Pesach and he does Shechit, a Korban Pesach, he does it, he slaughters it with in mind that it's a Korban Pesach. And then the second avoda, after Shechit, you have Kabbalah, you receive the blood. And then you have holocha, you transport it, but then you sprinkle the blood. So it says, even though he didn't have it in mind that it's for Pesach, it's valid. So the Gemara says, you see, Stam lishma, that even though he didn't have it in mind for Pesach, only the Shechita, it's valid. So the Gemara says, no, it's no proof. It has relevance to this, what I'm speaking about here. So the Gemara says, why is it no proof? Because Kol Osa Das Rishon Osa. That since initially when he started the slaughter, he had in mind Korban Pesach, the presumption is, although he didn't verbalize it, it's with the same intent. He just continues. But there the question is, what about when he slaughtered, he didn't say anything? And only when he received the blood he had in mind that it's for Pesach. That's what we have to come to Lishma. So I'm saying here we're speaking about, if the first line was written Lishma, we have the principle Osa Das Rishon Osa. Whatever you do, you continue with the same mindset. So if the first line was written Lishma, the presumption is he continued to write a Lishma. But the Gemara says even more than that. Ravashi Omar, Afilu Kant Kul Musa. V'kam megilto. Now, when the sofer has a quill, he writes with a quill. The quill has to be sharpened. So he has a blade and he sharpens the point with the quill. Even the quill, when it's made, he has in mind it's done l'shem this particular get. He's sharpening it for this couple to write a get on their behalf. That's all the shliach heard. Heard nothing more than that. Could he attest to the fact that the whole get was written l'shma? Rav Ashi says yes. Because the presumption is if he's already preparing the quill for that get, whatever get he wrote that afterwards, it was with that intent.
What about if he starts in the last part of the get, that he sees him start the last part of the get?
No.
That would not be good?
No.
Even though he says
No,
that last part is still good, it's still valid.
But he can't attest to what his original intent
But
was.
can't you say that because that's the shema, then can't you say
No.
the whole get is the shema?
No. All the examples we're giving here is he started. That's the concept kol osal das rishon osa. Whatever you do later, it's what you started. Maybe he had no intent. He may have not had any intent. At the end, now he has intent. But if you already started with the intent, the presumption is he continued with that intent. But we're saying not even the writing, even sharpening the quill or cutting the parchment, decides that it's being cut specifically for this couple. Well, the Gemara is going to bring a proof from a brisa to Rav Ashi. Tanya Kavosi to Rav Ashi. We have a brisa supporting Rav Ashi. Maybe get Medina Sayyam. Person who gets from overseas. Afilu hu b'bayis v'sofa b'aliyah. He's in the lower part of the house. The sofa is in the second story of the house. Hu b'aliyah, he's upstairs. V'sofa b'bayis. Afilu nichlas v'yotzi kol yom kulo, which Gemara is going to ask what that means. Even if he comes and goes all day long, kosher. It's a valid get. The presumption is written lishmo. Hu b'bayis v'sofer. So the Gemara asks, he's in the lower story, the sofa's in the upper story. The sofa's writing the get. He wasn't there, he wasn't present when the get was being written. So what could have he could have heard something. Elo, visually, see? Well, so what do you hear? Lav, kigo neshama kant kumusa kam the gilto. When he heard the sofa saying, I'm sharpening this quill for the sake of this couple to write the get. He heard him saying, I'm cutting this parchment for this couple.
Hear that?
I
thought he just hears the scratching.
What does it mean, the scratching?
He hears
but scratches it. But how does he know he did it lishma?
So you have to hear something.
So let's take a look. Tikkun akumus akla. Shamash tiknu lishma. Take the top Rashi. He heard when he was cutting and shaving the parchment or the quill. Tikkun lishma shechotos mat glikenosa. When you cut it and when you smoothen it.
What you were saying?
But he didn't say it
out loud?
Yeah, he heard it. He heard that words. He heard those words.
Did they cut it for these specific?
For this particular couple. Can we just have a few minutes? Omar Mar, the Bryce continues. I feel nichlas v'yotzi kol kulo. Even if he entered and left the house throughout the day, kosher. Now, man, who entered and left the house all day? The shliach who's going to deliver the get, or we're speaking about the ilay meshliach. If we're saying the shliach, hashtu b'bayis v'sof b'aliyah v'lochozilei. We say if they're on different stories where the shliach doesn't even visually see the get being written. Amrit kosher, nichlas v'yotzi b'boy. So if he was there and he heard it being done right, so going out, why should we presume that the sofer didn't continue? So who was going in and out all day? Elo, sofer. The sofer took a lunch break. So versus Pshita, Mishum de Nichlas v'yotzi d'Fsaline, because he left the house and returned. Is that a reason to invalidate the get? Lo, tzricha, the nofak l'shuka. It's not just he went out of the house to get some fresh air. He went out to the market. And he returned. Maybe he came upon another individual who had the exact same name, all the information was identical, and he was appointed by the other person to write the get. We're not concerned. That scenario is so remote, there's never to be concerned about that. Therefore, the get is definitely kosher.